Thank you so much for this opportunity, Anya.
You are so very welcome. A while ago, I calculated how many years we've known each other. It's over 20. It's literally over 20 years. We met in 1994.
Oh, yes.
In Edinburgh, where we were sharing an accommodation.
Exactly.
And that is actually maybe the beginning of our path during the conversation, because back in the days when I actually first met you, you studied languages.
Yes.
What did you do at Edinburgh?
I studied interpreting and translating, and it was in German, your mother tongue, and Spanish.
And then what happened that you left that path?
Well, I discovered dance. So what happened is after 4 years doing this degree, I felt a little bit discouraged by my experience of being on the course. And I decided to take some time out, and I actually went to Switzerland for 1 year in Zurich to teach English into high schools. And during that time, I discovered a dance studio in Zurich, and I bought a yearly membership card, and I was there every day. I was at the studio every day, and I rediscovered dance the way that I had experienced it as a young girl when I was growing up in Senegal. So this got me thinking.
Let's just jump a little bit back. How did you experience dance as a little girl?
Well, I must have been about maybe 10 or 11 when I started going to these. They were a mixture of dance classes with some sort of gymnastic, acrobatic exercises, and I just loved it. I just loved going there every Wednesday. It was we didn't have school on a Wednesday, and every Wednesday I used to go there. My mother dropped me off, and I remember I had to walk down a set of stairs, and the studio was right next to the sea. And I still remember the teacher's face. I don't remember her name, but it was just, I don't know how long I spent there, but it was about an hour or 2 hours of just doing gymnastic or acrobatics and dancing, moving. And this same woman was responsible for doing our school dance. We had this massive celebration, and I had my first performance then. And again, I must have been, I don't know, maybe 11, 12, I'm not too sure. And the dance was about, I can't quite remember what it was about, to be honest, but it was essentially we had a costume, and I was dressed as a baker. I had this big kind of baker's hat and trousers, and I had this fake cake, and it was all about kind of dancing with the cake, basically, and space, moving here, moving there, moving the cake. It was fun.
What I'm interested, I mean, the fact that you still remember that set of stairs, that you, although not remembering her name, but you see the face of the teacher. What did the dance mean to you back then? That it got really ingrained in you and in your memory. What emotions came up while dancing?
Was that it was really it was a place to allow my body to move, and my mind followed without any care in the world. It's a place. Movement is a language. Movement is a dimension. For most of my life, so far anyway, my journey has been about really embodying what it means to be human, you know. And for me, for a long time, it's meant that it's been about believing the wrong story. Well, the wrong stories. It's been about believing the non-truth about myself. And there have been times in my life when I was able to step into a place of unity where my body, my mind were in a state of flow. And those moments have been, I find, always movement. When I'm moving, when I'm allowing my body to move, to express without words, then I find that.
Would you say that moving your body is one way, at least, to step into that unity of body, mind, and soul, or whatever we want to call it?
I think so. I think everyone on this planet has their way to step into a place that best represents them, that best supports them to be who they are. And for me, one of the ways has been movement. There's other ways as well in relationship, you know, with certain people that I feel safe with. Then there's like it gives me a feeling in my body, in myself. It's safe here. I can be who I am. And for someone else, they might not need that. But for me, because of my history, because of the childhood that I've had, I've come to understand and accept that safety for my human experience is important, needs a consideration.
I think regardless of our individual stories, I would definitely agree. Safety is also a big thing for me. And I can't think of anybody who says, it doesn't matter, you know. I think we all have that inner worry of being hurt or not seen for who we are. So that safety is necessary, at least if I speak for myself, to show myself the way I am, with all the craziness that comes with it.
Yeah.
Now, so that's what dance meant for you. And what did life chuck in your way so you could rediscover dance?
Well, I noticed the aliveness that comes within me, the joy, and just wanting more of it, more and more and more and more, you know, wanting to know where the teacher had trained, wanted to know how, you know, how does she do that? How, you know, how, and just, just wanting more of it, wanting more of that feeling, wanting more of me in that way.
What part of you did you discover through the dance?
I discovered a part that maybe perhaps my parents didn't see or didn't clock, to, you know, to bring it more to the foreground and say, Satya, this is, you know, we're noticing this is really working for you. Let's increase the volume, you know. Do you want to do more of it? Do you want to, where can we look for opportunities for you to do that? My mother somehow recognized my physical ability and got me into this dance studio. And I think we're talking about me being in my mid-20s by then, I think, or just 23 or 22, when I rediscovered dance. And I think what I discovered was a part of me that perhaps had been in a cocoon, maybe, had been a bit dormant. So it took, so that was new for me. So I knew I enjoyed it, but I didn't have at the time quite the facility, the vision that I needed to nurture it. Mm-hmm. I knew I had to pay attention to it, but I didn't know how to nurture it. I just knew I wanted to do more of it. And maybe that was the first step to nurture it, to do more of it.
Knowing that you want to do more of it was the beginning of nurturing it.
Yes.
So coming back then from Zurich, what happened next? Did you nurture it, and how?
Well, I did. It was interesting because I came back to Edinburgh, and I knew I wanted to, I knew I wanted to do something with dance, with movement. Again, I didn't know how, I didn't know what, where, and one of the first things I had to do was to look for a job. And I remember finding this job in the paper. I think it was in the paper. Shows how old we are. It was there. I remember holding a paper, so it must have been a paper. And basically the job description was using dance and movement with adults who have a disability, a learning disability. And I thought, oh, I really want to be that person. I really want to do this. So I had an idea, and I wrote to the people, can you tell me how to get there? So it's interesting because in a way I was looking to this organization to tell me how to nurture this. But anyway, they invited me for an interview based on that. And we talked about dance. They asked me about dance. Yeah, a bit like you're doing now. They asked me if I had any experience of meeting or working with someone who had a learning disability. And then they said, you should contact this person and this person, 2 women. So I did. And by that time, I'd found a part-time job working with adults with a learning disability. And I started to volunteer for these 2 women who were working. They were movement experts working with adults with a learning disability. And I showed up every week, just helping out and getting involved. And I found that I had quite an ease with it, quite an ability with it. And then one day, one of the women, Karen, I'm still in touch with Karen. She said to me, look, I'm not going to be there next week. Can you run the class? Wow. Oh my God. It's like, what? I don't know. You can do it. You can do it. Sure, you can do it. Go for it. The men and the women. They have a good connection with you. You have a good connection with them. Go for it. And I did it. And I managed, and I liked it, and it went well. And then I started to cover for Karen, and I just took off. I just started to work. I started working with in different settings. working with movement in a very, very particular, specific way, you know, on a one-to-one. I remember a piece of work that I did with a man who was mute. So he didn't speak, he didn't hear, and his only language was grabbing, scratching, and punching. And I was asked to work with this man to increase his movement vocabulary, you know, to give him a new language. So that was fascinating. You know, I worked with fabric, I worked with touch, different pressure of touch for different duration. I worked with proximity, close to him, just close, and just, you know, breathing with him and making sounds with him. It's just, but I really look at that as years of flow.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in your message, you left me a message 2 days ago, you know, inviting me to connect with that flow. And then taking that into prayer, into meditation, you know, and I think, yeah, that's years of flow.
That's what flow is.
Yes.
People usually don't have an understanding what flow means. It just means things happen to your advantage for you to just gracefully walk the path.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing I noticed was you were rediscovering your job that you had before, the education. You were back a translator. I mean, you had trained at the university to translate languages, German and Spanish.
Yeah.
Now you translated a different language.
Yeah, that's true. My human experience is about that, is about, you know, the first however many years believing stories about myself that are not true, and now and making that translation between the story that are not true to the true stories, you know, sort of reinterpreting them. Yeah, it's, I like that approach. I like your perspective on that. Thank you.
And the other thing I'm just thinking, but I don't know how that resonates with you, when you talk about the wrong stories or the right stories. I mean, there was that movie called Lost in Translation. When I say something in English or when I translate it into German, things get lost. And I do wonder sometimes that when our parents talk to us, our grandparents talk to us, if not, things got lost in translation. You know, they meant something and it was a different language to ours or to mine.
Yes.
And I heard something else.
Yes.
The truth of what was the intention, which is usually a good one, got somehow lost.
Yes.
How does that resonate with you?
It really resonates. I would also say what I saw, I translated it and made it about me, about my worth, about my value, about how much I matter, about how lovable I am or am not. It was a way of interpreting the world that was confirming the story of my importance and reducing it. And it's almost inevitable. It's almost like unless there is a capacity or an ability in you as a child to just say, actually, I'm not going to believe this. I'm not going to see it that way. In that period of time, as a baby, as a child, it just seems that the mechanism of the brain, of the being, hasn't evolved as a child. to really be able to say, this story, there's something fishy about this story, and I'm not going to believe this. And I would like to be challenged on that. I would love for someone to say, actually, Satya, no, you know, it is possible, because I'd love that to be possible. So yes, it does resonate with me. And I think, you know, as I've become the age that I am now, then there's a massive reservoir of passion for revisiting the translation that I made, and for saying, actually, that's not what it was about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's they, meaning my parents, that's not what they were telling me. That's not what they were doing to me. But it gets interpreted that way, you know. So yeah, this is I think the element of translation is a huge one in how I created the world.
There was a thought that came when you said, you know, maybe we are not able as babies, as children, to distinguish between their story and our story.
Mm-hmm.
What if that is the pre-given path we all take? What if our brain, our being is designed in a way of, well, first of all, taking on all the other stories, and then if we choose to, later on when we're older and more reflective, to go on that path of rediscovering ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What if that is actually the whole purpose?
Yeah, I have a feeling that I can feel it. I believe that's the purpose. You know, I believe that at one point, you know, and I know some people don't have that opportunity. You know, that light doesn't switch on for some people. I'm blessed that to say that the light has switched on. I think it's taken many times. It's like, is she going to get it this time? No, okay, well, let's go again. Let's, you know, relive the same story again. So I think now my belief, I would say now my prayer is elevate me, you know, talking to this higher force, elevate me so that I can see me the way you see me. Elevate me, raise me so that I can see you the way you see her. Elevate me, raise my vibration so that I can see the world, you see the world. And then something incredible and magical happens for me. Then I'm aware of the human Satya who's there trying to do her best, believing this, not believing this. And then there's this kind of higher consciousness, this higher Satya who's just wrapping her arms around the human and saying, we can make this work. You know, you don't need to try and be anyone else. I love you just the way you are. And you know what? This happened this morning. Well, this morning I was doing my meditation as usual. I'm having some challenges with Luke, and we're both finding it hard because both of us are locked. I'm going to speak for both of us because that's my experience. He will have his own experience. But for both of us, we're locked into seeing each other from this place of being not good, not good enough, you know. So And from that place, nothing can grow. My practice this morning and the past few days has been about listening and really connecting with this higher being and asking. And I don't know how it happened, but suddenly it clicked. And I heard myself say to him this prayer: raise me in your vibration, raise me in your light, raise me in your grace, bless me. Raise me to see me as you see me. And I was like, aha, this is it. This is it. Okay, raise me to see Luke the way you see him. And I was like, bingo. You know, raise me to see the world the way you see the world. And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm onto something there, you know? So I kept going. And then there was a part that was like, no, he, this, that. Can you see my fists?
Yes.
He did. He said. He didn't. And I thought, okay, what do I do with that, you know? And all I could do was just let it be there. And I just thought, there's no point me getting involved and arguing with this part or trying to appease it. And all I could say was, you know what? I get you. I believe you. You're right. Yes, this is what you're telling me, something about you. And it's coming out in that way. And then that's the language of love.
Mm-hmm.
And the words were spoken and the energy was felt by this part. And this part became peaceful and quiet. And together we were still in that place of love, being seen by the beloved. And that place, that human place, I call it the human place, is still there. It's still kind of going, you know, whatever. And I'm realizing it has a place. It sits in that space where I can start to see myself the way that I am seen.
What I found really beautiful is that, let me see myself the way you see me.
Yes.
I think you're touching really on this, I'm not good enough. And whoever I talk to, very often that's the bottom line. You know, when you look at certain, it could be everyday problems, if it's with your partner, with your children, in the job. Usually you go down. There's that belief at the root of it. I'm not good enough. And that fear of being discovered, of not being good enough.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of things so nobody will notice that I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And I just love that thinking, that feeling that, well, let me just see myself the way you see me. That moment, here I am, and that's okay. And that's, I think, one thing I've learned from you is to say, well, take a deep breath and accept for the moment what is. Without the need of changing it. That need can come, that's okay. But the moment and that prayer, that being present, okay, this is the way it is right now. I can see the light coming through the window and I can think, well, that's not ideal for the video. And I can, you know, I can notice all that and I can start to change it, or I can, well, that's the way it is right now. What does that do with me? Oh yeah, it resonates. I'm not good enough. I'm not prepared, you know, it's, and I love that. No, it's okay. take a deep breath and say, it's okay. That's the way it is right now. So yes, it does resonate. Your journey didn't stop with dancing. Usually I don't have that little candle in the back. Today I have the candle in the back in honor of you, because you made it.
Oh my goodness, that's the arid candle.
Yes.
Oh.
It only comes out at special occasions.
Oh, Anya, that's beautiful. I saw it. Thank you. It's beautiful.
Tell us, on your journey, finding out who you are, who you truly are, finding your center, what happened next?
So what happened next is I understood very clearly after 2 years of this these amazing opportunities, you know, to teach, to work. I got to travel to Greece, I got to travel to Ireland, across the country in the UK. And there came a moment of understanding that I needed to experience dance and movement for me, for just me, and that I was curious about how dance is made, how the body creates movement. So then it became clear, aha, now I need to do some dance training. Now I need to experience dance. And I applied to do a course, to do some training. And what is interesting about this story is that I applied and I knew that I needed a certain amount of money to do that, which I didn't have. And so I swear to you, this is what happened. So I knew that I needed this amount of money, and I thought, right, this is how much money I need. How am I going to get this? And to this day, I cannot tell you how this happened. But the following day, I get through the post box an envelope with a job to be a freelance arts education something officer. And I read through it, and the pay is exactly the amount of money I need.
How did you get from there to living on a Scottish island making candles and doing gardening work?
Thank God. I think, so what happened during my dance training is, looking back, and even whilst I was doing the dance training, I realized that there's different approaches to dance and movement, you know. So for example, in ballet, there's a particular view of the body. There's a particular view of how movement is created. There's a particular view of gender roles. The woman behaves that way, the man lifts. You know, there's a whole political language. And I trained as a contemporary dancer. And within the contemporary dance world, there's different views, there's different techniques. There were different pioneers with different lived experiences, with different bodies. So, you know, Jose Limon, so the Limon technique is a technique of developing vocabulary, of training your body, of conditioning your body. This technique was developed by a man. He was a man in a man's body, you know, creating this technique. You know, the Graham technique, Martha Graham, she developed it based on her view and experience of the world, of herself. And so I was receiving this rich legacy of dance technique. And I was noticing, this is like wearing a dress that looks beautiful, but it's just like, there's like something that's kind of like digging into my skin and I can't quite close the zip, you know, or wearing a pair of shoes, you know, doing a particular technique and wearing a pair of shoes, and it's like, oh, they're beautiful, and I put them on, it's like, oh my God, my feet are aching. So during that time, there were these realizations popping up. And then there were aspects of the training, like improvisation, like choreography, where it was the perfect fit. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so good in this dress, you know, I feel so good with this haircut. And I started to notice, oh, wow. So there's not all of dance. Dance is a rich vocabulary, you know. So this fits me more than this way of looking and being in dance. And what I discovered was what the word somatic, somatic involving body and mind together, where the two are invited into movement. And that's when I started to understand, that's what works for me. You know, so I kind of had to go through the conventional training to discover that actually my niche was the more somatic based, you know, where it's about movement. It's about awareness of movement in daily life. It's not about so much performance and pointing your feet or your turnout or having this capacity in your technique. This wasn't for me. I found that I could get there, but it wasn't for me. And so there began an interest in being in the body, being in movement in a way that suits me, that feels right for me. And I discovered the work of Anna Halprin, who's an American dance pioneer, and the work of Bonnie Bainbridge. And I discovered what is called experiential anatomy. I started to understand that I don't need to perform. I don't need to be in this particular way. I can just be me in my body and explore that and express it. And that's when I started to look at myself differently. I thought, okay, I'm not like a dance artist, you know. I'm an everyday artist. You know, I'm a sort of Satya in movement artist. And that coincided at that time with a conversation I had with a friend of mine, Jane, and I was sharing something about myself to her, and she listened to me, and she was able to reflect exactly how I was feeling, and that really got my attention. I said to her, "What was that? What did you just do? You know, where did you learn to do that?" So that set me off on the path of non-violence and non-violent communication, which is also known as compassionate communication. So I started a journey there about understanding, wow, this is a new way. So my curiosity took me there. And then I became interested about moving away from the I, from me, to we. I was like, how, you know, because I had my own flat, I was beginning to teach again. I had my own pastime, I had my friends, and I was like, this is, and I think I was beginning to feel a bit alone in this flat. As this was happening, I was meant to go to Findhorn to do a non-violence course, and that was cancelled. And I was looking on the website to see, of the Findhorn Foundation, to see if I could do any other course. And then I came across this link that said ERID. So I clicked on it, and it took me into this world, the world of ERID. And I thought, that's where I want to go. So I went there, and I felt so peaceful. I felt like the way I felt when I'm dancing, when I'm moving. I felt at peace. I felt myself. And then I moved there because I wanted to understand the we, how the we can create this state of being and living in harmony with each other and with the earth. And that's what I did. I moved to Erid. I became a custodian of the island along with other custodians, and learned about gardening. I learned about candles. So Erid makes its own candles. I became one of the candle makers. And that's what you're describing. So yeah, it took me that long to get there, basically.
How did you manage always say, I try something new? You left the language translation on the side, and you moved towards dance. Then after the dance, there came the element of the nonviolent communication. At the same time, there was that desire to see, how can I move from the I to the we? How did you embrace all those changes, all those new adventures in your life?
I mean, the immediate answer is it's in my heart. So something feels clear in my heart and I follow it. I've had various feedback about that capacity. You know, some there's different ways to see it. There's a way to see it that creates this person that's carefree and that just follows her heart. Another way to see it is someone who hasn't found her place yet. You know, she's looking for her place, and she's trying to find home, and she's looking for it outside. She's not looking for it within. She's not, you know, she's not looking to her power within. She's not looking for it inside her. She's looking for it outside. And I'm also a lot into planets and astrology, and I've been studying my astrological chart to see what I came with into this world. You know, it doesn't define me, because I believe that you can actually melt those constrictions, or, you know, you can transform them. I think it's very fluid. But it's been really good for me to be aware of that aspect that's maybe in the shadow. And one interpretation that a friend of mine read in my chart was that because of the strong element of trauma in my life, I've created this mechanism of making sense of things mentally. So I read a lot, I reason very well, I have a good intellect, I'm able to make sense of things very quickly. You know, you might argue, well, this is a bit emotional intelligence, but anyway, there seems to be a strong element of a mental thing in me, where I'm not acknowledging the emotions and I go into my mind. And that gets expressed through change. Here, there, go there, go there. So it's a helpful question, because I'm not too sure. You know, I maybe kid myself by saying, I follow my heart. But I think there's something maybe a little bit more sinister than that underneath, that's trying to protect me. I don't understand. What is it? Some of us are born with certain facilities, you know, like I've always admired in you this capacity to take something and make it grow, you know, regardless of what the feedback outside is, but you really believe it and you really stand for it and you really create it. You want to write a book about rainbows? Done. You want to travel around the world? Done. Like, I want to know, how do you do this? I don't know. Are we mirroring ourselves? Because if I want to go and learn about biodynamic gardening, I'm going. And you helped me with it. You helped me with it because I didn't want to leave Scotland, but you helped me with it. So what is it that we're mirroring to each other? What is it? Because writing that book that you've written now, for me, it's like, oh my God, can I do that? You know, but what's stopping me? So I don't know. Let's watch the space. Maybe that's something that we need to. Maybe someone listening to this podcast might say, I know what it is. And if we do, please get in touch with Anya, myself,
Yeah.
What do you get any sense now, even after having listened?
I know that there must be a good enough reason that we met in the first place.
Mm.
And we, in our friendship, have gone through also quite a lot.
Yes.
It wasn't always just bliss.
No.
So I think there's an element of that I don't know if we mirror each other or if we trigger each other. I second that. If anybody guesses it, if anybody has an intuition, please fill us in, because I can only say for myself, I admire that ability to move on and to say, well, and the same thing now with the garden where you had trained to say, no, it doesn't work for me. There's things that don't work for me, and I leave that behind.
Yes.
To just have that, I consider it a strength. I know the way you looked at it from both sides, yes, but there's also no point in being unhappy.
Totally.
I mean, I was unhappy for 7 years studying chemistry. What was the point in that?
Yeah.
So I admire that you say, well, that part interests me, but there's something in the surrounding that doesn't work, that makes me ill. I leave it behind. I go.
Yeah. It doesn't feel right in my body.
Mm-hmm.
And, something's making me ill.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the wisdom of this. As you know, I have a health condition which is completely manageable and stuff, but I think that's what the gift of that illness has taught me, is that the belief and this way of looking at myself makes me ill. And so certain situations, but that's more recently, it seems like I've always had this sense of being able to go here, to go there, but this is more lately where I started to realize, oh my goodness, this is starting to make me ill. I need to stop. And that's what happened, for example, recently when I was doing the biodynamic gardening. The lesson that I carried from living in that community that we talked about on the island was being able to pay attention and recognize immediately when it's time to leave, rather than just I'll keep doing it, I'll stay, it will change, and then realize actually it's not going to change. I need to change, I need to go. So that's what I did. And when I went to do the biodynamic gardening, it was love at first sight, because I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then, places, institutions, virtuous institutions have their shadow. Everything in this world has virtue and shadow. So very quickly I started to see, oh, okay, this is not quite what I thought. I'm willing to give it a shot. And then one morning I woke up and I was like, no, it was so clear. I was like, okay, this is not going to change. I can put up with it, or I can just not put up with it. And I thought, actually, I don't want to. Life is too short. I have another 2 years of that kind of dynamic. I don't want to. I don't have to. And that's when my body, I woke up one morning, it was so clear. It was like, yeah, I need to go. But yeah, I didn't have a plan. I just knew I was going to come back to Glasgow, which is what I did a month ago. And I was certain that it would work out. And when I came back, I met with Mags, my friend Mags, and I said, "Oh, Mags, I'm really worried. Like, what am I going to do? It's the lockdown. There's COVID. It's like, what the heck am I going to do?" She says, "Satya, you know how to do this. You've done this before." Seriously, that's what she said to me. She said, "You know how to do this. You've done this before." So I arrived on the Friday here on the 4th of September. And on Monday, the 6th, or 5th, 6th, on Monday, the 7th of September, I was having a meeting with Emily, who runs the Children's Wood. And on the 7th of September, I had work. I'd organized work. I was teaching the following week, paid work, So she's right. I can do this.
You're back in Glasgow now. What are you wishing for?
Definitely, there's lots. I mean, there's this bigger picture of being raised to see myself the way I'm seen, to see everyone the way they are seen. One of them, which is I think I shared it with you on my WhatsApp voice message, is to make part of my life coming to see you, coming to stay with you, coming to be with Alina, your daughter. And that's my wish. I really want this to be I really want this to happen. And yesterday actually I was thinking, well, how can I do this? Maybe I need a jar, and I just put money in it, and that's the my Swiss family, because your family, you've always said that to me, so your family. And I was like, no, I'm not family. We're not, you're not my mom. I mean, we're not bound by blood, but now I get it, you are family. I was like, yeah, I want, so that's my wish, is to make that happen. Yeah, very important. I think my other wish is, I guess it's what I've just said, is really just to give myself a chance, just to really see myself, because when I do that, then I find I can give to people. The only reason I would want to see myself would be because then I can give. Mm-hmm. Then I can give something to people. I can, by being in that vibration, I can just be and also raise others' vibration. And I don't mean it in an egotistical way. I just mean it in a way that the only way I'm able to do that is through the grace of that power, of that higher power.
Why do you think you have to, first of all, see yourself as he or she sees you before you can do that?
Yeah, that's just what I thought, but it's good to question. Because when I'm able, it sounds a bit like a condition. It's more like a shift of perspective. Because I think that shift of perspective is able to allow what is not perfect, so it's not about, and I'm understanding this as I'm speaking to you, because this whole kind of knowledge came about this morning. So I think the invitation, and it is an invitation, is to really be compassionate, because another way to translate it is like to be compassionate, that, because that word compassionate is just like, oh my God, so much, it's spoken about so many times. And I'll read a definition of it, and it's like, oh, it's the capacity to feel for another person, and I'm like, oh, but you know, how do I live it? And for me, seeing myself the way I'm seen is an act of compassion. And I believe that bringing that compassion into my life, bringing that being seen in that way, can support me to be more accepting of myself. Because, you know, one thing that I discovered as well, I've been doing, you know, some therapy on those stories, and what I realized was that I don't need to do anything to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a massive insight. I was like, you know, Shona, my therapist, said, do you notice that in the eyes of that higher power, you don't have to do anything to be loved? I was like, oh, yeah, that's true.
Because it's unconditional love. What I find interesting is that compassion, I mean, I can obviously only speak for myself, but I feel that compassion for others you have already, and I have the impression you seeing the others already as they should be seen.
Yeah. Okay.
Unconditionally.
Yeah.
You're already there. It's not, I mean, what course would you want to take for that? The course.
Yeah.
I think you are there, you're living it. And what I find, I don't know if you don't notice, but by being able to listen to your body, what works and what doesn't work, what environment is healthy or toxic, you're already living that compassion for yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
You know, you taking yourself serious in a sense of saying, that doesn't work for me. And I love myself enough to say stop. And then you change direction.
Yeah.
So I have the impression you're there.
I agree. I guess what I'm sharing now is maybe a deepening. I think it's a deepening. Thank you. That's really helpful.
I have the one question that I always ask at the end.
Okay.
What was the question that you would have wanted me to ask that I didn't ask? Or is there anything that you say, I would really like to stress that or repeat that, because I find that's really, really important?
Well, actually, it's not so much a question. It's more what I'm observing. I'm loving the work that you're doing. The podcast is, I want to say, magical, amazing, transformative. It is bringing all of your skills together, the coaching, all of your kind of leadership skills, everything is in the radio thing. And I'm like, right, let's do a fundraiser. You need your own radio station. You do. So if you ask me, this is what I want to say. I was like, yeah, let all the women that you interview make a contribution towards the future of this. This is amazing. You're giving me a gift. No, really, it's just, you get, basically, this is an hour's worth of coaching with Anya. Seriously. And it's just the luxury of being prompted with questions to reflect on. I see you there. I see you there as Anya, podcast or host on this station, and you are listened to by millions across the globe. and you are, yeah, and it's a business, and it's working for you, and it's working as a business. I just want to give my first however many pounds for that. I'm serious.
Well, I can only say thank you. I wasn't expecting that, but thank you for it. And maybe that's a nice way of concluding it, because you know what I love about it? What I love about it is making my guest get a hint of the way I'm seeing them.
Wow.
You know, it's, and I want to give them the platform to shine. That's all.
Yes.
So thank you for shining in my podcast.